Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Infinite Binge. We are watching Westworld Season 1. This is episode 7, titled...
Trompe L'Oeil.
Thank you for that. There was no way I could have done that. I would have butchered it. I am Jake, and who else is here?
Kevin?
And linguistics expert Andrew.
In this episode, Delores, William, and Lawrence journey to the treacherous terrain. Oh, into treacherous terrain, sorry. Maeve presents her demand. Bernard considers his next move.
So, the title, Trompe L'Oeil, just giving you a quick definition from Wikipedia, thanks Wikipedia, is an art technique that uses realistic imagery to create the optical illusion that the depicted objects exist in 3 dimensions. Forced perspective is a comparable illusion in architecture. So it's kind of like a way to... it literally means deceive the eye, which is kind of appropriate.
Yeah, because that's what happened. This was a big episode because it had reveals, at least one big one.
Yeah, it had a pretty big one.
Bernard's robe.
It didn't look like anything to me.
What door?
I've been trying to watch for other things earlier in the season to see if he couldn't see it or whatever, but I don't think there was anything.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there was only the flashbacks to Arnold wearing the all black, but that is very hard to pick up on.
Well, especially considering the fact that he wears dark blue.
Yeah, but he always wears a light undershirt under it.
Let me ask you really quick though. In the beginning, it had its nice, sad, depressing opening. But was that Arnold remembering or Bernard remembering?
Delores. No, I don't know. I think it was Bernard.
It was Bernard remembering an implanted memory from Arnold.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
at least that's my assumption.
Yeah, same. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one who thought that.
I don't think it was implanted by Arnold because Arnold.
Oh no,
or by Ford.
Yeah, by Ford from Arnold. That's what I meant. Was from Arnold.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we don't really know too much about Arnold's backstory.
But that also kind of means that the whole thing with him, that kind of casts into question if you go back a few episodes where we were talking about where he was talking to his wife through the video phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, what up?
She was a robot too. It's the only thing that makes sense. Another thing, though, that we learned in this episode is that the owners of the park of Westworld, all they care about is the code. They just want the IP.
Yeah, so they keep talking. They bring that up several times throughout this, and so the question, and I don't think that it gets answered. It definitely doesn't get answered in the final 3 episodes of the first season. Hopefully, it gets answered at some point. At least I don't remember it getting answered, but it's but to what end?
Yeah, what do they... I mean, maybe they haven't been able to get the code out, so there isn't robots in the real world yet, maybe, and they want to bring real robots out?
That's going to be my guess. Or if there are robots, they're just nowhere near close to those kind of robots, so they want to steal it so they can, have just much better ones, or because maybe it's just way cheaper or something to make the way he does it.
Or maybe they want to put them in service in really dangerous jobs, in mines and stuff, or
maybe all jobs, because it would be cost effective to hire them because you wouldn't have to pay them like you do people.
Right.
Yeah, just get rid of people.
I bet the hosts would have seen things that you wouldn't believe.
I understood that reference.
The C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate.
Do you know that Rutger Hauer wrote all of that?
Yeah, it was all improvised, I thought.
I don't know if it was improvised. I think he wrote it ahead of time. It may have been improvised. Rutger Hauer's a cool guy. It's from Blade Runner, by the way, listeners, if you did not know.
Go watch Blade Runner. Which actually, thinking about it actually makes me think about the fact that there's kind of some similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just thematically. because it's like, what the, it kind of delves further into the whole what does it mean to be human thing.
I think that's what like a lot of AI stories do. Robots and AI.
Now, quick question. That house that, I feel like I asked this, or maybe I thought about asking this before. I don't remember. Am I to assume that was at one point Arnold's house?
You mean like where everything was?
Yeah. Like the reveal and like where the robots are living, Ford's robots are living. I have to assume that was Arnold's property, no? Like
Well, no,
that
I
was
think
his
that's-
house.
No, I think it's a slightly different place than where
Is
the
it?
Ford family is living. Yeah, I don't think so.
No, that's
Like,
the
I
same
think
place as the Ford family, I
I
think.
think it might be the same.
But I think it's maybe he just took it over.
We
I
saw
don't
it from
know.
a different angle. We never saw it from like that perspective before, so it
Also,
looked different.
Day v Night.
Yeah.
Well, but it feels like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's in there. Like, I got the feeling like that house is not very big in the
Oh
interior.
no, it's just a little cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this seemed like it had like a lot more stuff in it.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe, yeah, he just has a couple of houses because all you know is that Ford told him to bring her there, so who knows if that's the same there.
Yeah, and then she got murdered.
Yep.
And the blueprints that he had in there for the robots, there was one for Delores and one for Bernard.
Yes, and a couple others.
So who is he spinning up there in the little chamber thing?
You know,
Who knows?
originally, like the first time that I was watching it, I was thinking that he was making her to replace her.
Yeah, that's yeah. I couldn't remember if they finished that up, but is that like coming out of it? That was my assumption.
Yeah, I don't remember if we ever see who he was making.
But
We'll
he had
find
like
out though.
yeah, and when he had like several different. There were several like blueprints there as well. I think they only showed like definitely the one for Delores, definitely the one for Bernard. I think maybe one for the young robot. Ford.
Yes. Young Ford robot, yep. I will say, I remember the very first time I watched it, though, when they were in the house, and she's like, oh, through this door. And he goes, what door? And
Yeah.
my mind just exploded.
It's a good reveal. I mean, I like the way they do it, but he's kind of like half looking away.
Yeah. It's clever the way that it's not super obvious, even in that moment. But what led to that scene of Bernard killing her, what's her name again? Teresa?
Yes.
Yeah, Teresa Cullen.
Was they had this scene set up basically where they had one robot kill another robot and say it was because it was a malfunction in the code.
From the Reverie update.
Yes. But once that scene started, Ford never said a word. I think he said, "What am I here for?" And then they showed him, and then throughout the entire scene, he does not say a word. He just
has
kind of looks.
a weird smile.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of that is because like later on in the episode when Bernard confronts Teresa about it and says the things about how he could tell that it was set up. I'm wondering if maybe that Ford had picked up on that so early in that he was just kind of like, yeah, this doesn't mean anything.
Most likely.
Oh, yeah, no.
There's a line Bernard says that I can't even imagine what Ford was thinking of it.
Yeah, no, Ford definitely no. And he even says too, right before she gets killed, like, oh, the board plays games with me or something like that, you know. So it's definitely not the first time they've tried to pull something on him.
Yeah, in that scene that he also said that a blood sacrifice was required. That line was also said earlier in the episode.
When was that?
Was that during when William was talking to like El Lazo or Lawrence?
No, it was when Teresa was talking to, I can't remember her name, the lady
Tessa
on the
Thompson.
board. Yeah, when they were having their conversation, and then she said a blood sacrifice needs to be made, and then it cut to them taking the robot out of Westworld to reprogram.
Oh yeah, where all the things like Charlotte Hill is Tessa Thompson's character's name.
Yeah, and
yeah.
then the sacrifice then is Bernard because he gets fired.
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to me that up until this point, it really made him look like a shit, because it's like, oh, you're completely willing to let him take the fall for this.
Like, if that wouldn't have played out that way, though, like, how would that have worked? Because later in the episode, it's kind of revealed that the robots can't leave the park. Like, everything is designed to keep them there, they said.
Well, I think I took that to mean that they require so much maintenance and upkeep.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, they said even the skin is designed to keep them there. I took that to mean, like, there's something there that once they leave, they'll just start falling apart.
Maybe it's something with the arid climate.
I don't know even about falling apart, but maybe like in the computer, like in their programming.
I don't know. The way that it was worded, they said even the skin that you're made with is designed to keep you here. Like, that line specifically made me think, like, maybe they literally can't live outside the park. Which would make sense. Because if there's a robot uprising, they don't want the robots to be able to leave the park.
I'll just give them a 3-year lifespan.
Life finds a way.
Dino DNA. But yeah, the whole thing, they were trying to... The whole setup and impetus for that was they were trying to get the data, like all that data, out of the park so that they could somehow force Ford out so that he wouldn't go nuts and, like, destroy everything.
Are we watching a robot version of Jurassic Park, like, this whole time?
It is.
I'm
Michael
okay
Crichton.
with that.
I mean, let's be very serious about this. We are talking about Michael Crichton.
That is true.
And he wrote them both initially.
There's a lot of shared plot points.
You just made me like this show a lot more.
I mean, Jurassic Park's pretty good.
Now, one of the things I still will never understand in this show is why those 2 workers help Maeve get to be where she is.
Yeah, I don't understand when she's gone, why don't they tell someone?
Well, because they're
He
afraid.
had a bird?
Well, yeah, the one guy is, the kind of younger guy, is afraid that if he says something that they'll bring Sylvester in, and then Sylvester will rat him out about other stuff, and then Sylvester is probably, like, worried that if he says something, then it'll be like, well, why didn't you say something sooner? And then, like, after they started doing other stuff, then it just makes him more complicit and more sort of guilty.
I feel like they could just kill her and then wipe her, though.
Yeah, why don't they just shoot her?
Or, like, take a knife and stab her or something. You know what I mean?
Well, whatever they need to do, they need to do it without arousing too much suspicion.
They could be like, oops, I tripped and had this scalpel go straight through her forehead. But, I don't know. That whole thing.
And we haven't even started to really talking about the Confederados.
Yeah.
And the Ghost Nation.
Yeah, they got 2 NPC groups, like enemy types, to fight each other. Like, it's a video game. When I saw your thing about that, when I saw your note about that, I was specifically thinking about how in like Watch Dogs 2, you could actually call in other enemy groups. Yeah, I was thinking of, like, in Doom, like, sometimes you'd like get into a room or something, then you could get, like, the cyber demons to fight the pinky demons.
Really?
Or, like, I mean, like, original Doom.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But, like, the Baron of Hell, they could fight the I forgot what they were called, those red flying ball demons. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they would fight each other. It was great.
Huh. The Keiko demons.
Yes.
I had to look it up because I didn't want to say that and be wrong. But yeah, that was kind of neat. And then, like, for as much, like, there was part of me that would have thought for as much, the stuff that they filled that body with, nitroglycerin that they pumped into that body, that they would have that would have produced a much larger explosion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It was still a pretty big explosion, though.
I guess it would have been realistic. It would have killed everybody on the train too. Because I feel like that was like how many jars of nitroglycerin? It was like 100 or something.
Yeah, it was at least. I was thinking it was at least several dozen.
Yeah, there's cases of them.
Unless they didn't use it all.
That's true. We don't know how much they put into that body. There could have been other bodies. Yeah, and Will was talking about in this. William, I should say, was talking about in this episode how Westworld made him realize who he really was as a person and how he had everything wrong about what the park is.
Yeah, he kind of surrenders to being there, like actually being there.
Yeah, he likes the place.
Yeah, and he kind of, up until this point, it's always been he's been resistant.
Yep.
Well, he says what brings out your deepest self. Is that it?
I think that's what he says.
Is there anything else that we noticed or feels worth going over?
I like the scene when they came in and took the robot and Maeve was there, but she wasn't frozen. And she's just kind of freaking out as everybody else is frozen. And then she was ready to start stabbing.
I also like the Tessa Thompson power move.
Which power move are you referring to?
Oh yeah, let me have sex with this robot, but invite you for a meeting like in the middle of it.
Oh yeah. Was there anything else? Or should I wrap up?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, thanks for listening. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave some comments, do all that good stuff. Also listen to Manga Machinations and the Geekbox podcast and Comic Conspiracy. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.